Birmingham City are back in the Championship after an astounding 111-point tally in League One. But here's why I think that relegation was a blessing in disguise for Blues. I'm Brummie Joe. I've been creating content around Birmingham City since 2016, so I've seen my fair share of joys and sorrows over the years, though admittedly it's been more sorrows. Until now, it is starting to change. So if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button because I think we've got a very exciting season ahead of us. It all started so well. Nighthead took ownership of Birmingham City in 2023 and it was kind of out of the blue. Blues fans have had a lot of false dawns over the years. The most recent of those was Trillion Trophy Asia taking over Birmingham City, renaming the stadium to the Trillion Trophy Stadium. It's the most ironic thing ever. So it was only going to go one way, and that was failure. We had 2017 where Harry Redknapp took charge. We got the Brentford boys and we thought, wow, this is where it's all going to change for Birmingham City. We're on the rise. It wasn't to be though, and we got ourselves into massive financial trouble because they had the ambition but they didn't have the knowledge to match it, and when they found themselves getting into trouble they went into hiding. And at one point it really did feel like Blues weren't coming back. I genuinely felt the season before Nighthead took over that there was no sign of hope for Blues whatsoever in the future. I remember saying this, all we want is just some hope that we could potentially move forward. Nighthead came in, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. John Eustace had Birmingham City up in 6th place in the Championship when Nighthead decided they wanted a change of direction and they wanted to implement their style of play. They brought in Wayne Rooney. Now, Wayne Rooney was probably the first sign of Nighthead trying to implement their style and what they wanted to do on the club, and I think that was probably quite a steep learning curve for them. They've admitted they made the wrong decision, and Wagner said himself at one of the open houses, look, this isn't the first bad decision we're going to make, and this level of openness, communication and just honesty here is unheard of for Birmingham City fans. But anyway, it felt like this was one of the first signs, as well as Nighthead trying to turn the eyes on Birmingham City, get people talking about us, and this was a move that did just that. All the news outlets were talking about Wayne Rooney's new club, Wayne Rooney's Birmingham City. As much as the fans hated that terminology, that's what the news outlets were doing, and I'm sure this helped at first drive some commercial revenue and get commercial partners maybe thinking about Birmingham City. However, you need to match that on the pitch as well, and that's what Wayne Rooney failed to do. He was trying to play the style of play that Nighthead wanted to play, which was playing out from the back, a high press, possession-based football, but we just didn't have the players to match it. The club had a bad culture, and so any player that came in, even if they had the best intentions as well, there was just this culture at the club that had set in over the past 10 years that meant it's just like joining a toxic workplace environment. Ultimately, you're going to end up the same as the people around you. So even if you're coming in highly motivated, ready to crack on, if the majority of people around you have a different mood, you'll naturally lean into that as well. And the same works for a positive culture, which Blues have built now. So Wayne Rooney's job was to get this team of players that had just had their manager sacked, that they were playing football that they were used to, they were at the top end of the Championship, overachieving, you can say. It all got thrown out the window. Look, this is how we want to play. Not everyone was happy, and ultimately it just didn't work out for Wayne Rooney. He wasn't able to get Birmingham City playing the way he wanted them to play, that Nighthead wanted them to play, and ultimately it became a scrap to save our season.
Rooney's done. It's got really, really toxic. Fans are sick of him.
Rooney went on to do a lot of media work and talked about how he just needed the transfer window, but he was sacked on January 1st. Rightly so. So there we are, start of January, we need a new manager. In steps Tony Mowbray. Now, the Tony Mowbray appointment said to me that Nighthead realised that they're probably going to have to wait until the summer until they can bring in the right players to play the style of football they want. And to me, they made the decision at the right time. You had half the season to go and you had time to kind of save the season. Unfortunately, Tony Mowbray had to deal with some personal health issues that required urgent treatment, which left us with Mark Venus for a while, and again it left the club spiralling a little bit, to no fault of anyone either. And in March, when relegation was starting to look likely, we brought in Gary Rowett, someone who knows how to save a club and knows how to save Birmingham City, and he did a really good job for Blues. He just probably didn't have enough time in the end. He stopped the rot. We started winning games, but the teams around us were winning games as well. And we went into the last day of the season needing to win and one of the other relegation teams to lose or draw, and we would have been safe. However, all of the teams, including Blues, won their games, which sent Birmingham City down. Typical Blues. Now, that term typical Blues is probably something that I've used and many Blues fans have used countless amount of times, but I think now is where that starts to switch. And this video is talking about how I think relegation was, all in all, a positive for Birmingham City. Now, when this relegation happened, a lot of Blues fans, myself included, thought, what if Knighthead decide to pull out here? What if they decide to cut their losses and move on? Maybe they didn't expect to get relegated and it's all a bit too much for them. And this was before we knew the plans that were coming. So again, communication was key here, and Wagner and co were absolutely on it. They continued the open houses. They showed all of the improvements that they were making on and off the pitch. And honestly, most fans realised that relegation was just a temporary hiccup. And you could see that with the transfer business we did that summer. So last summer, we had a lot of players exiting. They'd reached the end of their contract, and it was the perfect time to completely rebuild this team. A lot of players that were maybe part of that culture of Birmingham City that maybe weren't used to winning, that were maybe frustrated, that just didn't have a winning mentality. They've gone elsewhere, and it was almost like a blank canvas. Now, Blues had money to spend already with a new cycle of FFP coming in. Timing-wise, that was great, as well as all these contracts expiring. It was just the perfect time to rebuild this squad, and Knighthead made sure their recruitment was spot on. And credit to Craig Gardner here as well, by the way. But Blues didn't just go after players that were good technically. They went after a profile of player that you could build a winning mentality around at Birmingham City. And it's a balance here of talent, ego, teamwork, and overall off the ball work on the pitch. I think this is probably epitomised by the signing of Jay Stansfield, who was a big marquee signing, and whilst known for his goals, his work rate off the ball and defensive work was second to none. Our transfer strategy was clearly a lot more purposeful. We went after a certain mould of player that could fit into the style of play we wanted to play, so that we wouldn't get those frustrations that we had under Rooney. Not every one of them worked out, which is understandable with the amount we signed, but most of them did an amazing job for Blues, and you could see we were building a team that was championship ready. And that's why we had so many eyes on us as well in League One, because we were making signings like Jay Stansfield, like Christoph Clara, Tomoki Iwata. There were so many players in there that you could argue were a higher standard than League One. But most of these players also had room to grow and potential resale value as well. So you could see the strategy coming into play and this long-term vision. But we had to sign a manager too. Blue said they went through thousands of managerial candidates and landed at Chris Davis, a man who has plenty of experience in the game but hasn't managed a team yet. So the pressure was on for him as well to prove himself. Not only that, but Blues gained countless commercial sponsorships as well. They sold the naming rights to the stadium, which was pretty standard, but they also brought in a lucrative social media deal as well, which is, I think, the first of its kind in the English game, or in the game altogether. It's innovative, which is a word that I wouldn't have associated with Birmingham City before. But we were still told one thing: you're in for a shock. It's not easy to get out of League One. And the thing we had to face as well were the expectations. We kind of put a target on our head, making the signings that we had, but Knighthead were ruthless, Chris Davis was ruthless, and the team didn't care. We're not really used to different fans talking about Blues, and that's something that we've had to get used to. But we made sure that we were effective, and I think it speaks volumes getting 111 points in League One, even if we've made the signings we have, just because of the way teams set up against us every week. Believe it or not, they stepped up a level. They defended with heart. Every single team we played was so hard to beat, but we managed to find a way most of the time. The thing that I love about Chris Davis as well is that he seemed to have a little bit of that grit about him, and you can see it in some of the trailers that are coming up for the Amazon Prime doc. He's got that rough edge you need, so he's going to be listened to in the dressing room, but he's also a bit of a tactical genius as well. Now, the point I am making in this video is the fact that going down has actually been a blessing in disguise for Birmingham City. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments. But I think it has been a blessing in disguise, because going through such a big reset and then going into a championship season is going to be difficult. And let's say you face a period of games where you lose 5 on the bounce or something, and you don't know who this manager is. You might lose faith. You might lose faith in the whole thing. And considering what we'd been through already with Rooney, it could have been hard to get fans back on side in that sense. You could see it was a more data-led approach and it was less of a big name, but still, there's that added pressure of playing in the championship and trying to change everything at once. Going down to League One has allowed us to bed in our style of play. And not only that, bed in a winning culture. This team is used to winning now. I think even if we'd had a relatively successful season in the championship and finished mid-table and said, you know, it's a great kind of stepping stone to aim for those playoff spots and even automatics, I think coming up from League One, especially after what Ipswich did in 2023 and 24, there's a belief in the squad now. Not only that, we have momentum, and momentum is huge in football. You know, there's one thing having a good championship season, but there's a story around what we've done coming from League One, being the new boys again in the championship and going for that top 6, I don't want to say top 2. The ambitions of the club are high and their transfer business isn't done just yet. So for me, going down, having that season, getting that momentum, and coming back with all of this raring to go, I think that's put us in a better position now than if we'd have stayed up and we're looking at another season in the Championship right now. It just doesn't have that springboard effect to it. And it's not just Chris Davis as well. A lot of these players have had to bed in, and you could argue they've got even more physical from League One. And you're going up to a level in the Championship where it is really physical, but it's faster as well. So we are making these additions to the team that are going to get us up there. That's just my opinion. I think it was actually a blessing in disguise. I don't know if that's a wild take or not, or if people agree with me. Let me know. I just want to finish this just on a note to say that, like, it's just wild to go into a Championship season with hope that we could get back to the promised land, even if it's not this season. The fact that we're even thinking about the potential of being in the playoffs, like, if you'd asked me that in 2022, I'd have just laughed at you. How on earth are Blues going to do that? And sustainably as well, rather than just gung-ho, chuck all your money at it, one season wonder, which is what a lot of clubs try and do and get themselves in financial trouble. We're actually building a sustainable model, getting these commercial partners in, building a story around the club, getting key figures involved. What has happened to my club? I just feel like I've won the lottery. So many Blues fans that have gone through decades of rubbish. And even the season when we won the League Cup and we had that moment, we still got relegated the same season. It's just the kind of curse that follows Blues. That weight on our shoulders seems to be lifted, and we can really start to look up for once. It just feels really special, and I'm so eager for this season to start. It just doesn't feel real. I'm still waiting to be pinched and woken up. It just feels like the very start of something huge. And I haven't even mentioned the plans for the 62,000 seater stadium and £3 billion sports quarter. I'm just thinking we're going to look back on this moment and look back on that relegation and think maybe that was the start of it all. And we've had so many sorrows over these years. It's time to finally start having some joys. So what do you think? Do you think relegation actually turned out to be a good thing for Birmingham City? Do you think back-to-back promotion is possible? Where are you realistically thinking Blues are going to finish next season? If you're asking me, realistically, my expectations keep getting raised by Blues and I need to keep pulling them back down. But Wagner always says, you need to aim high. We need to stop thinking that, oh, it's typical Blues. That's the mentality that's kept us where we are. We're a different beast now. So let me know what you think. And if you are new here, make sure you subscribe. Drop a like on the video if you want more Blues content. And I will see you in the next one. Up the Blues.